Hi, it's Howard, coming to you live from the campus of Cool School University.
Welcome to Gems of Knowledge with your host, David Bellman and Justin Kroll. Each week, our experts will answer all of your jewelry questions with Rachel Putney, our social media maven, who will relay your questions to our experts. And now, here's your host, David Bellman.
And I've never seen anything like this. These terms and conditions people automatically agree with. Usually they're not this, like I say, heavy, like Dave said, heavy-handed.
They've written this entire thing just to, they know exactly what they're doing. And so they wrote this. It's clear as day, just reading this, that they're ripping people off.
It is, in our opinion, no question about it.
And I think, in a lot of transactions of this size, a lot of people would bring in an attorney to review the contract. But of course, when you're on vacation, making a purchase at a store, that's not going to happen. It's probably not an option you have.
Yeah, and the other side to this too is, part of what the cruise lines do is they have these seminars that we had talked about in earlier episodes, and they have hired hands, if you will, on these ships that are there to do nothing but entice you to spend this money.
Right. And
tell you about all these great deals that you're going to get. So when you get to this point and you're actually buying something and you're having a lot of fun and everything looks like it's all going really well and everybody's all around you and they're telling you, well, congratulations, you just made a great purchase. The last thing you're going to do is to kind of question that and turn over the receipt and say, well, let me just read over all these terms and these 3 pages.
I wonder, the customers that do read through it and then start questioning it to these salespeople, I'm just curious as what these salespeople are saying to still convince them to just oh, no, don't worry about that.
Well, that's a good question. And I'm sure they always, like everything else that they do, they always have an answer for these things. And the average person really wouldn't, understand every single
exactly
detail in this. And there's more. Let's say that, after you've read all this over and you're really upset, which, everybody should be at this point, and you decide that you want to sue them regardless. And you say, well, I was told a lot of things.
Before you even get there, there's another procedural step in the return, exchange, or refund process before you even make the challenge. It also says that you have to include, when you're returning the gem, you have to include all of the original certificates, documentation, and promotional items that you were given with it. So if you had some seemingly insignificant piece of documentation in the bag that you had thrown away after making the purchase, you don't return that piece of documentation. Conceivably, they can claim that you're not entitled to a refund simply because that was
probably throwing in these stupid little pieces of paper that mean nothing just to make sure.
Well, and that's another funny thing too. The promotional items, I didn't pick up on that. They give them, you don't know this because we didn't discuss it, but, one of the enticements to getting to come into the stores, they give them this little 10-cent charm. It's really a worthless little tiny, remember the charm
it was
bracelet?
Plastic.
Yeah, basically this little gold-colored plastic charm. I bet that's a promotional item. I bet if she didn't show up, if she didn't include that little charm in there, that could potentially breach this contract or whatever the correct terminology would be.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Wow.
And that was one of the biggest things that got her there in the first place.
Oh, yeah.
Was that she was going to get this free, that they really talked up, too. They talked that thing up like it was a very nice charm bracelet.
Yeah, it turned out to be
let me tell you, it was not.
No. It even still had the made in China sticker on it. It was pretty depressing, if you ask me, doing this to these people. But thank you for bringing that. Yeah, no, thank you for bringing that up because I didn't even pick up on that, but that's a good point. See, here's all. Again, they've had years to put this together. Every time somebody comes back and fights them, and
they add a little something else in there.
Yep, they say, well, you know what? We didn't think about that. What can we do to fix it? Well, they fixed a lot of things here, especially this thing with using their own using appraisers that they decide they want you to go to. That's how independent can that possibly be? Not. And
you're funny.
Let's just talk about and this is a very legal type of thing, but jurisdiction that doesn't come up very often in the normal conversation, but you'll see it at the bottom of almost all contracts, and that's where the whoever puts the contract together gets to decide where you're going to sue them, basically, if you want to. Is that correct, Dave?
That's fair to say. The contract says that it's governed by the laws of the country in which the sale is made. So you have to look at the law of that country as it relates to contracts in order to interpret the terms of the agreement. And then any dispute has to be adjudicated in that country. So if you have a dispute with the company, you need to first figure out which jurisdiction you purchased it in, what law applies. You need to figure out whether the company's activities are actionable under the law of that jurisdiction. And you need to retain counsel there to prosecute the case. Beyond that, you may or may not be able to participate in that proceeding remotely. So you might have to fly back to that island in order to participate in any legal dispute there. So I guess on the bright side, maybe you have to take another vacation to the islands and you get that out of this whole process.
Can you imagine the expense involved with that?
Right.
Which again, just that by itself is enough to stop most people from wanting to do anything. Even if they felt, like Elaine did. She felt, I've been cheated, I've been wronged. I don't care. I want to go after these guys. And again, by using a jurisdiction of, I don't know, Bermuda or St. Thomas, for sure, there's no way that you're going to be able to retain a lawyer, which I guess you'll have to get from down there, because you wouldn't. Could you hire a lawyer from here and then have them
bring them on vacation with you?
Yeah, I mean, is it?
No, they'd have to be licensed to practice in that particular jurisdiction.
So now they got to retain a Jamaican or
wherever they are
lawyer in order to fight this, and again, costing probably $10,000 at least just to fly down and represent yourself and to do everything else.
Right.
This is how dangerous these types of contracts are. The whole point of this video is very simple, and that is, you can buy all the jewelry you want there. That's fine. All we're trying to do is make you aware of what you're getting into once you do it. Because
there are reputable jewelers down there. It's these big companies.
Yes, and Dave might find this interesting, and I don't know if we talked about it when Elaine was here, but when you're on the cruise, they'll say to you, here are the recommended jewelers that we want you to go to.
Yes.
Right? Of course, these recommended jewelers, as it turns out, are the ones that give them all the commission kickbacks that they get for selling all this jewelry at these high prices so that the cruise lines can make extra dough. And then they say, but if you go to one of these other jewelers, and I assume some of them have to be good, to your point, right?
Right.
I think there could be very, very good jewelers. They say, we won't, and I don't know what they're going to guarantee since they don't guarantee any of this stuff, but they say, we won't guarantee whatever you buy there is going to be a good deal. We're going to somehow protect you. And that's another part of all this. It's not in the contract. This is all, what do they call it? Parole evidence. It's all, verbal, none of it has anything you could take back, and it's not actionable, right? If you say, well, they told me this, they told me that, can they say, hey, they told me not to go to this jeweler, to go to their jeweler, and somehow they're liable because they tried to direct me or misdirect me?
Yeah, that really depends on the circumstances, and again, it'll depend on the law in the particular jurisdiction you're talking about. It does raise a point, which is that a lot of jurisdictions have consumer protection laws. Most U.S. states have some form of consumer protection or deceptive trade practices law that some of this conduct might fall under. Now, I haven't researched the law in all of the potential island jurisdictions that we're talking about, but my guess is a lot of those jurisdictions won't have the same sort of consumer protections that we have in a lot of the states here.
Well, and rightly so, because if it did, obviously it would have a huge effect on their economy because, this is going on. We know at the jewelry store level. I can only imagine the other stores that are there kind of doing the same thing. Again, part of it, having enough profit, I guess, in what they're selling in order to make the payoffs that they need to pay to the cruise lines. Because let's face it, these cruise lines bring in 10, 15 cruise ships, a day.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Into these ports. So they're not just going to bring all these customers in and expect nothing in return. They're going to want a piece of the action.
My mom just got back from a cruise and said that the advertising for them was just insane.
This particular jewelry store we're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, big surprise. Well, hopefully she didn't buy it.
She did not. She knows better.
Good for her. So Dave, in closing, because we're getting close to the end of this segment, any advice, any comments, any legal advice, any suggestions for people who are shopping out there other than what we've already discussed? What would be your overall take on this?
Sure. I mean, I guess going into a situation where you're making a purchase from a store or a company of this nature, definitely read the terms of the contract you're agreeing to before you walk out. Because once you walk out, once you've made the purchase, it could be very difficult to back out of it under almost any circumstances.
Yeah, and when you're spending thousands of dollars, that is a big problem.
Right.
Well, Dave, I don't know how much to thank you, and I can't thank you enough for taking the time out of your day to be with us and to help us better understand the terms and conditions that were on the back of Elaine's receipt and that of really tens of thousands of other people who purchased these items. And just out of curiosity, one day we went on to the Better Business Bureau yesterday just to see what the rating was for this particular company, and lo and behold, the grade was an F.
Wow.
Yeah.
Surprising.
Big surprise.
I have actually one question for you, Dave.
Sure.
Or David. Which one are we going for?
He's Dave. I'm David.
Dave.
Dave.
Is there a way to sue these people and win? I mean, in your perspective?
It would really depend on the circumstances of a particular case. So I can't speculate based on just the form of contract here. It would really be an analysis of the particular consumer situation, what they were told and what they were presented with.
Okay.
Yeah, I can understand that because it's so complicated. But I will say, if you could find, you'd be so lucky if you could somehow find any way, based on the way they've had this written, to an out in all of this. You would have to work, I think, very hard at this point to do it. Because I certainly, and I've run through quite a few of these in my career in the jewelry business, where people bring things in like this. I've never seen anything quite as bad as this one. Usually there's an opening.
Right.
From a jewelry perspective, anyway, I certainly haven't found one. So I wish there was in her case, and that's why we're here.
I know, it's really sad.
Yeah. Again, Dave, thank you so much. Appreciate you being with us.
It was my pleasure.
It's really been a big help to us
Definitely.
to understand, and also for everyone out there who will be watching. So thank you.
Sure. My pleasure. Take care.
All right.
You too.
All right. Howard, I think we're going to just wrap it up here. I think that went really well. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm still my mind is blown just reading this.
Yeah, I hope we can help people who are thinking about going on a cruise to do nothing else but at least take the opportunity to flip over the receipt and just read it.
Just read it.
Just read it. And if it's even half
But that's the thing. They give this to you with your receipt.
On the back of the receipt.
So at that point, you've already purchased it.
Well, you have to sign it. So they give you the receipt and they say, okay, we're all done.
So before you sign the receipt.
Yeah, before you kind of close the deal and hand over the money, I guess, the final.
Right.
The minute you put your signature on the receipt.
Yep.
This is on the back side of it. Hey, Dave, you're still there?
Yeah.
They have,
it's a difficult psychological place to make somebody back out, I think. I mean, once you've gone through the whole process and made the decision to make this giant purchase, you've sunk a lot of time and mental energy into doing this stuff. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be, I think, just from an amateur psychology perspective, to change someone's mind at that point and have them walk out of the store with nothing.
Yeah, I mean, and this is the type of purchase, and we know because we do this every day. I mean, this is a happy, fun purchase. This isn't like you're buying an apartment building or something like that, or a tractor. You're buying something. You're in love with it. You see a piece of jewelry you fall in love with, and not saying the quality of the jewelry is bad necessarily, just saying that you're paying 10 times more than it's worth.
Exactly.
Which is the problem. But and they obviously don't have any obligation, Dave, to say, hey, oh, by the way, as you're signing this receipt, you really should take a look. At least when you do the stuff online, right, they at least offer you the option to read it. Say, hey, do you want to read this first before you agree? Right.
Right.
Here, you may not even realize it's there when you're signing it. I wonder if there was. I have to pull the receipt out. I wonder if there's anything on the front that says, oh, by the way. I'm sure there must be something that says terms and conditions on the back. But I mean, they're not obligated, obviously, to point it out to them.
Yeah, there wouldn't necessarily even be that language on the front. You just look at the document you're given.
Yeah, it's on it's on the back side. You wouldn't even think to even necessarily look to see what's there.
Right.
I never thought about that either. So that brings up a lot of interesting points. I'm glad you brought that up.
Thank you.
I mean, even as a lawyer, it's rare that I will closely read the terms and conditions of a purchase or a license agreement or something like that. So, the fraction of consumers that's going to do it and understand what they're reading is vanishingly slow.
Yeah. And I think that's a nice, honest, and I appreciate that, because that's a very honest opinion, to give, because I know, we're all fallible when it comes to things like this. And even if you do have all the training in the world, to take all the time in the world to read this, I did scroll through a few of the Microsoft ones once back in the day, and it's just like 50 pages. I mean, even if you could understand it all, who has the time to read it?
Might skim through it, but that's it.
No, it's so true. All right. Well, again, Dave, thanks again. Rachel?
Yes, thank you.
We'll pick this up. We're going to have Elaine back in our next episode, and we'll go through a few more things. And,
awesome.
Look forward to keeping this going and hopefully helping her eventually to get her money back in all of this.
I hope so.
Happy to help out. I actually watched parts of some of your earlier episodes, and it's a really interesting show and a situation that I had no idea existed. So great job to you guys for bringing this to light.
Well, thank you. Yeah, there you go. That makes you feel good.
I know.
All right, man. Again, thanks for your help, Howard.
Sure.
We'll call it a day, and we'll pick it up in the next episode.
Sweet.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye, Dave.
Howard here. Join us next week when we bring back Elaine and a young couple who just returned from their cruise and found themselves in the exact same predicament. You will not want to miss this. We look forward to seeing you.